What's going on, everybody? BCG back again. And today I'm super excited to talk about our brand new dynasty for college football 2025. Now, our last dynasty rebuild, Devin took over an Air Force team that looked pretty lackluster and turned them into national champions in just 2 seasons. So I decided to make things a little bit harder for everybody this year. And instead of being able to take 3-star teams, everybody had to take below 3-star teams. We are also extending this to be a 6-year dynasty rebuild. Whoever has the most national championships by the end of year 6 will win $200, courtesy of yours truly. And whoever wins the last national championship, that final season, will also get $100 from me. So there's investment for everybody, even if they're not doing good in the first couple of years of the rebuild. We're adding Carmack, a.k.a. Dustin, the football coach that works for Jim, and he's been really fun adding him to the league as well. I'm really impressed with his gameplay. He seems to know what he's doing recruiting-wise, so he'll be a great addition, rounding out the numbers so it's a full 8 guys in this Dynasty League. Since I've already done a video like this before, you should know the drill. Let's just get into everybody's highlights, talk about everybody's first seasons, and how we're getting these dynasties revamped as soon as possible. So we'll go ahead and get started with our first team. This is going to be Jim taking over Tulane Green Wave. Now, they have some actually decent grades for their college, which is interesting because Jim is already the best recruiter in our little group. He's always the highest rated team when it comes to recruiting. So if he's already starting off with some decent school grades, that's a really good sign for him. We don't have as many highlights for Jim. He did kind of struggle this first year. This is his first year playing human opponents. Mostly he had been playing computer opponents up until now, and he got matched up into a gauntlet of really, really great opponents that kind of just fed him his lunch. So not too many highlights for Jim this season, but moving forward, I expect him to take a big leap with this roster. He's got a lot of great talent, especially at key positions like quarterback, running back, a lot of young guys that'll be here for a while. So I'm fully confident that he'll be able to right the ship and make things a lot easier for his team in the future. Hopefully get him back into the playoffs where he was a perennial playoff team in our last dynasty rebuild. So again, just a rough start, starting with such a bad school, but things will get better. Next up, we've got Jaden, who decided to take over Boise State, which is a sneaky great pick. It's surprising that they have less than 3 stars for their team prestige, because they've got a ton of talent on this roster, and recruiting is also pretty easy for them as well. The other big benefit of running with Boise State is he did get 1 year running with Ashton Jeanty. The funny thing is Ashton Jeanty is not super great in this game. They gave him abilities as a receiving back when really he should have been more of like a power back and break tackles. That's what he did in real life. So Jaden wasn't really able to get the most out of Jeanty, but having a running back go into the pro draft and raising the rest of the running backs on his roster was huge. And for some reason, Jaden also does great against Shane. Shane has really struggled against Jaden the last couple of years. So it's interesting to me that we've seen that dichotomy. Now, the thing with Jaden is just he'll have a great season and then drop one game here or there that just derails everything. This year, he started off the season with a loss to an FCS team and then rattled off a ton of wins to get back into the argument for a conference championship. I think he lost against East Carolina in the final week of the season, and that kept him out of the conference championship as well as playoffs. So the competitive level of this league, it's a very fine line. And if you're on the other side of the line, it can be hard to break through. But I fully expect Jaden to be making his playoff debut this season. Again, he also has a ton of talent at a lot of really, really key positions. His quarterback, Malachi Nelson, was either a freshman or a sophomore with great stats. And then here you'll see Jeanty just do Ashton Jeanty stuff, break a tackle, break out into the open field, and yeah, that type of stuff is really fun. We wish we got to see that more often in this season of the rebuild. Moving forward, I did move myself into a conference with Shane and Jaden, as well as my brother Steven, so it's going to be a bit of a gauntlet for all of us. But yeah, Jaden's killing it. We'll just see if he can beat those lower-ranked teams that seem to do his season in right at the last second. Hopefully he's got some great guys coming in for the defensive side as well. And this last season, Jaden actually had a better recruiting class than even I did. So not only does he have a great roster to start with, but he's also bringing in some weapons already. So look out for Jaden down the line. I expect him to be a huge threat in the coming years. All right, next up, we've got Devin taking over the New Mexico Lobos. So Devin did win the national championship in his Air Force rebuild last year. And this year he's taken it a step further, giving himself an even bigger challenge, taking a true one-star roster. And even with a one-star roster, Devin was impressive. The hardest thing for him right now is his school grades are just so awful. Recruiting for this first year is rough. But as anybody who's played Devin knows, once you're in a game with him, it doesn't really matter what his players look like because he's going to run the ball really effectively against you. And the biggest thing with Devin is he's actually opened up the passing game. The first couple seasons in our last rebuild, it was really just the triple option for him, and he'd maybe throw once or twice. Guys adjusted to that, and now you're seeing that Devin has to make a couple more passes in a game, and he's making great reads. You'll see in my game against him, he actually killed me on some deep balls. So really interested to see how long it takes Devin to get back into the playoffs. Again, he's always been a playoff riser. I don't think he ever lost a playoff game last rebuild. And again, that was with an Air Force Falcons team. So I haven't had a chance to check out what the roster is going to look like here for Dev. But we all know that the Lobos are going to be a threat as he gets better linemen. The big thing that Devin did last year was moving a lineman to tight end. And that tight end became the fourth best player in the entire nation when it comes to blocking. So I expect Devin to be able to make some roster changes these first couple years. By year 3, year 4, he's going to be back to being a top 10 team. Like I said, always making the playoffs, making deep runs in that regard as well. Devin and I actually had our first game against each other in any of my Dynasty rebuilds, and it was a blast. We went back and forth the entire game. It came down to the wire. And it also came down to a missed field goal, the first time that Devin's ever missed a field goal in any dynasty. So a little bit of a controversy there. Don't want to get too much into it, but like I said, I definitely will see Devin again moving forward, especially if I'm making the playoffs. I know he'll be in those later stages of the run as well. Who would have thought that the New Mexico Lobos would be a team you've got to be afraid of in college football? But that's the testament of a true rebuild right there. So shout out to Devin. I'm expecting him to just go off as soon as he's got the roster built to do that. Next up, we're going to go over to the Texas State Bobcats being taken over by Ashton. This is another team that has some pretty rough school grades, at least to start. So recruiting is not going to be the easiest thing for him to start off with. When I talked to Ashton about why he liked this program, he said he liked the speed, and he has a lot of speed at wide receiver, and that actually saved him super early on in the rebuild. He was struggling early. He was about to lose to Bowling Green, and he hit a deep ball as time expired to be able to save his season. He also was able to put together a clutch win against Devin, the reigning champion for our dynasties. And that game was another really fun back-and-forth game. I also have to say, Texas State has some pretty sick uniforms. I didn't expect that from them. But it'll be interesting to see what Ashton's able to do since, 1, recruiting is going to be a little bit more difficult, and 2, Texas State doesn't have a ton of guys who are super highly rated. So again, this will be a team that's very much a true rebuild. But once he's got the guys that he wants, namely some more speed guys, Ashton's really good at hitting the deep ball. So once he has the weapons to be able to do that, it'll be fun to see what he's able to put together with a Texas State Bobcats team. I'm so glad that we decided to go even further down with the roster talent because I'm seeing teams like Texas State that I would never expect anybody to take. hopefully this next season, Ashton's able to, hopefully try to make the conference championship, make his first playoffs as well. Again, it's going to be pretty rough early on with the team that he's currently rostering, but things will only get better as the rebuild goes on. Moving right along, we've got Dustin, a newcomer into my Dynasty League. He's actually a head coach for a football team in real life, so he decided to take over Wyoming, a decent college, not too great of grades to start off with here, but it's been a pleasure to get Dustin into this league. He's really dynamic, especially offensively. He can run the ball well. He's a really good passer as well, and as you can see, he likes to run the no huddle just like I do. And he runs that very effectively. So he brings a lot of energy into these games. Almost every game that he played in was down to the wire. It was a battle, whether that was against, Devin or myself. I think he played against Ashton as well. And I had a blast watching all of his games. It's fun to see, how a football mind plays this game versus somebody like me who's just a gamer and just wants to exploit things that make me win the game. Dustin has more of a mind for the game of football itself. So as he builds this Wyoming roster, it'll be fun to see what he's able to do just with the X's and O's behind everything. Shout out to Jim for inviting him. It's been a really great, it's just great to have a solid 8 guys in this Dynasty League. It's made the games a lot more fun. I'm having a lot more fun during the regular seasons as well. So good luck to Dustin moving forward. The thing with Wyoming is they just don't have a lot of talent right now. Again, I'm saying this with a lot of teams, but he'll have some talent eventually. It's just a rough start. Now we'll get into the teams that made the playoffs the first season. We'll start off with the Oregon State Beavers, and this was Steven's team. And I was surprised at how great this roster already was. They already have some great school grades as well. And then the really nice thing is Steven absolutely killed it this year. He scheduled some early tough opponents. He beat Oregon. I believe they were a top 5 team, and he beat them early in the season and never looked back. He went undefeated. Now, the biggest issue we faced was he played against Jim in the game disconnected. Both guys readied up just out of instinct, out of habit. And when they both readied up, it simulated the game instead of letting me force the win for Steven. And it actually simulated Jim winning over Steven, which absolutely crushed my brother. He lost his undefeated streak. He dropped in the rankings. And once you advance, there's really nothing we can do about it from an administrative side of things. But I was really impressed with how Steven was able to rally. He still finished out the rest of the season without a loss. He made it into a conference championship against Shane, and he actually beat Shane in a conference championship as well, which was a really fun game to watch back and forth. It sucks that Steven didn't get the seeding he deserved, having been undefeated for his first year. That one loss really dropped him down in the rankings. He should have had a first-round bye, and that first-round bye ended up going to me as well. So it's hard to say, what we'll see from Steven moving forward. I know he's been pretty disappointed after that whole fiasco with losing that game that he should have won. But at the time, like he said, he rallied, he kept his mind in it, and he got wins when he needed to. This win against Shane was probably the most impressive one, especially it being in the snow. I always joke around that it's fun to watch snow games and it sucks playing in them. But this was an awesome conference championship to have. We could have a rematch of this in Season 2 as well, now that both of these guys have moved into the ACC. I don't know as much about Steven's roster, but I know that he likes the guys that he was running with, and that's why he was able to go undefeated in the first place. So we'll see, what recruiting looked like for year one, what his roster development is going to look like moving forward. Again, he's a gamer. He's a guy who can hop into games and play well against anybody. The biggest thing is just managing his frustration when things don't go the right way. An impressive win in this conference championship. That win is a huge win as far as winning money, because that's one of the tiebreakers for our grand prize is conference championships. Now, I did go over to Steven's house to watch him play his playoff game live. So that's why the quality here is not the best. Since he did have that one loss, he had to go on the road to the Big House and play the Wolverines, and that's just a brutal matchup. He couldn't get off to a good start. All of his team was ice cold. It's a tough environment to play in. He was able to rally halfway through the second quarter. He had a great drive, finally got back into the end zone, and it looked like we were going to be able to turn things around against Michigan, maybe save this playoff game and save the season. But then he took a couple of really, really bad losses. He lost a fumble here just on a regular sack, challenged it, didn't come back. And then Michigan on that next drive blows him up and gets another touchdown. And once the snowball's rolling, it's really hard to stop. So again, he's just trying to rally here late in the game. Nothing's going his way. And then a defensive line pick is going to seal the game. Of course, we've got to talk about Shane. He took over Rutgers, who surprisingly had some great grades for the school, should make the roster a pretty easy rebuild for him. Shane is an interesting topic to talk about because he's been the best player overall. You'll see even this season he scheduled himself some tough games against ranked opponents and just destroyed them. Didn't matter if it was the number one team in the nation. It could be Ohio State. It could be Notre Dame. He was crushing them. He even dropped 100 points in a single game against UAB. So, yeah, Shane's always been a problem, but he kind of struggled this first season with Rutgers, at least in head-to-head games. He was able to beat Jim. Then, like you've seen before, he lost to Steven in a conference championship. And you'll see he did play me in the playoffs as well. But the thing about Shane is he's good at every part of the game. He can run the ball, throw the ball. He plays amazing defense, super stingy. It's really just hard to move the ball at all. And if you give him a turnover, it's probably game over for you. So again, we'll see what Shane's got. The interesting thing about taking Rutgers is he graduated over 33% of his roster was gone after year one. And most of his starters, I think he had one starter that was a junior and everyone else was a senior. So it'll be interesting to see how Shane recovers from losing so much talent. His roster did take a huge step back. It's almost like his rebuild is starting now. But again, he did get a good recruiting class. He's the only person who got a 5-star recruit this first year. He got a 5-star center. And of course, he did make the playoffs like he always does. His first game was a computer matchup against Cal. As you can see, computer doesn't really put up much of a threat against Shane. This was big, too, because Shane had kind of struggled in playoff matchups going into these playoffs. So getting this win under his belt was huge for his momentum moving forward. Like I said, playing against the computer, Shane's going to find the holes. He's going to hit bombs. He doesn't give up a lot of points. Just doesn't have an issue playing even the best teams. So we'll see with his roster kind of taking a step back this year if that affects anything. I kind of expect it not to, just because of his ability as a player itself. You'll see me here ranting a little bit about how I had to play him in my first playoff game. Everything worked out, so of course I would have to play him. And yeah, you'll see I struggled with him, especially early in our playoff matchup as well. It helps when his running back has a 45-inch vertical to get over the offensive line, and then a pitch to the outside scores too. The toughest thing about playing Shane is if you give up easy touchdowns. You've really got to make him work for stuff, or otherwise he is going to hit you with a seam strike. He is going to run the ball on you effectively. He's going to get picks. You know, he picked me off twice in this game. I had 2 picks all season going into this game. And, of course, he's going to pick me off. He just reads the game super well. I expect us to have a great game when we play each other in the ACC this year. Might meet up again in the conference championship as well, although I know Steven and Jaden have something to say about that too. So we'll finish things off. Shane did have a Heisman winner as well, which is crazy because it was a defensive end, but there you go. And of course, you know I had to save the best for last. I took over the Duke Blue Devils. who, for one, had some pretty great grades to start off with, but they also had 2 coordinators with recruiting tendencies, which meant my coach could focus more on the player development, which has been my staple since even last Dynasty rebuild. As for my games this year, I took a good game against Ashton, and then Devin and I had the closest game, I would say, in the entire league this year. Like I mentioned before, this was the first time Devin missed a field goal. Whether this was intentional or just a gaffe at the end of a game, I'm not sure. You can tell by my reaction. But looking back on it, whatever the case may be, I'm sure that Devin is a little bit regretful of how this game ended because I went on to run the table. Duke went undefeated in the regular season, then met up with Wyoming, which would be Dustin's team. In the conference championship, we got off to a great start. Karan Boyd taking us in on our very first drive, and we didn't look back from there. Defense showed up a lot in this playoff run for us. I hit a couple of deep bombs when I had the chance to, and Dustin just didn't really have much of an answer for what I was cooking. Here at the end of the game, fourth quarter, kind of running up the score. Feel a little bit bad for him, but it is conference championship, which is huge. And then our playoff run began against Shane, of course. Number 12 Rutgers in the Peach Bowl. Again, started off strong, touchdown on the first drive. Might have been the second play of the game, actually. And we came out hot, but you knew that Shane was going to retaliate. You can see that I was already down early in the first half. Should have been down more, but Shane makes a business decision, maybe the wrong business decision, goes for a hurdle, takes the fumble, and I'm right back in this game. Able to run it in, tie the game up before half, and then this was the play of the year. With 10 seconds left in the half, sent my running back out on a wheel route. Malik Murphy stays in the pocket, takes a hit, and delivers an absolutely perfect dime to give us a touchdown at the end of the first half, which was crucial because neither of us ended up scoring any points in the second half. Games against Shane, at least with me, have really become a chess match. Once we see each other's tendencies and what we're trying to set up each game, we were both able to shut each other down for the entirety of the second half. It came down to this fourth down conversion. Ran a little bit to cover 2 man. His guy won the route, but my outside guy turns around, makes a tackle, and that was going to be it. So Duke beats Rutgers in the Peach Bowl to move on. I only had computer opponents the rest of the way, and the first step was going to be taking down an Ohio State team who had just dismantled Georgia, the number 1 team in the nation. But I wasn't afraid. The big thing about playing these computer teams in the playoffs is that it's at neutral sites, which makes the games a lot easier to handle. Even though I'm coming into these games with a much worse roster than Ohio State, my team was an 81 overall team this year. Just understanding the game, I was able to basically game manage my way into a W here against Ohio State, setting up the final game of the year, the national championship. We played Tennessee, who had a nasty roster. But again, it's a neutral site. And the interesting thing is I had the second best offense in the nation this year, but it was really our defense that came to play in the playoffs. We started off the Natty with a safety, which was huge just for momentum's sake. Offense couldn't really get anything going in that first half, so I just took my points as they came and kept getting stops. So I can't say enough about this defense, who didn't even really have some great players on it. I don't think any of my linebackers were ranked above 80 overall, but it didn't matter. We scored some touchdowns, blew up the lead. Tennessee had to throw. And this would be the clincher right here. A pick 6 from Deshaun Stone, the true freshman, stepping up in the national championship. These are the type of stories you love to see in college football. So with this, that's going to be a wrap for season 1. Deshaun Stone sitting in great coverage, runs it back, and we ran the tables. I'm excited to see what year 2 is going to have for everybody. You guys have a lot of work to do to catch up to me. Recruiting has been going well for me, and that's going to be a head coach of the year, Ball and Crook. Good luck to everybody else trying to catch me, and here's to season 2. BCG out.